Good morning, folks. Welcome back again to Feni for the Soul for one more interesting interview. This time it is Lt Colonel Vivek Mundkur, an old friend of mine from the Kudje village near Pune, which is quite close to the National Defence Academy. Now, Vivek, as I like to call him, is a retired engineer officer of the Indian Army. He's always been an adventure buff, and he went into the record books in 1976 when he became India's very first hang gliding pilot. So he's an absolute pioneer. There's so many hang gliding and paragliding pilots now in India, but the beginning was made by Vivek in 1976. He likes to call himself a Jugaad engineer, which he'll tell us a little more about as we get talking. And he's a serial innovator. So, he began with, building his own hovercraft, then his own windmill, his own solar pump, 1 HP solar pump, and motorized paragliders, And now, of course, he's on to electric cycles. So, as you can see, he is an innovator. So, let's get started. So, good morning, Vivek. Good to see you.
Good morning, Rahul. Nice to hear from you from Goa.
So really, when I see your Kudje pictures, your farmhouse pictures with the lovely Khadakwasla lake in the background, all that either moonlight or sunrise or whatever, the only way is, the little consolation is we are in Goa. So,
yeah.
Yeah. If we were in a concrete jungle, then we would have been really, really envious. Vivek, I'll start by, going to 1976. You built your own hang glider. Now, in India at that time, nobody knew how to spell this word hang glider, I guess. But glider with, acquired plastic sheets, HDPE or something you call it, and locally procured aluminium rods. So you build this. Then you had the guts to get onto that Dighi Hills near Pune and take off for your first solo flight, So that was complete daredevilry. So what made you do all of this?
Well, Rahul, I don't think it was daredevilry, really, because I think I just had the right set of skills to undertake this hang gliding experiment. In fact, I would like to give credit for my skills to the various institutions where I studied. First one was the school, Lawrence School, Sanawa, where the motto is never give in. When things get really tough, most people falter, and I had the guts to carry on, because I had quite a few accidents and crashes, but went to the hospital several times. But I got back to hang gliding and succeeded in flying the hang glide. Second is, of course, the National Defence Academy and the Indian Military Academy, where mental and physical toughness is what they teach you through a lot of hard training. And so it's almost like your Ironman training, which you seem to enjoy, but I don't really enjoy that anymore. And the third is, of course, College of Military Engineering, where I got my mechanical engineering degree. So I had this skill set, and I thought nothing difficult now to make a hang glider and fly it, But actually, I wanted to join the Indian Air Force and couldn't get past the medical. So that urge was always there to fly. And when I read about this article in Popular Mechanics about hang gliding, this was in 1975. I was posted in Pune at that time. So I said, wow, this looks like a good chance for me to get into the air. And I called my cousin in the US and I said, can you bring a set of drawings, construction plans from the US so that I can build one hang glider? He says, yeah, I can bring it. It cost $5. Mind you, there was no internet in those days. This was 1976. So I got these plans, studied them, and I said, oh yeah, I can build this. then I went around the market and I found I could not get any of the materials that were specified. They said aircraft grade tubing. It had to be an alloy called 6061T6, which was not available. So I said, okay, it doesn't matter. I will buy whatever is available. Some tubes from Bori Ali in Pune. I went there, bought these tubes. Luckily, the diameter was just right. And then what about the fabric? They said Dacron fabric. It's an imported sailcloth fabric, you know, which is very, very expensive. I said, no way I can get this fabric. So I looked around and somebody suggested to me, okay, why don't you try this fertilizer bag fabric? You know, these fertilizer bags come in very tough looking fabric. So why don't you try it? So I bought a sample and I found that it was really tough. I mean, they could hang a bag on a hook and it won't tear, you know, a 50-kilo bag. So I bought that. And then I said, okay, now let me build this. I got to build it in College of Military Engineering. An abandoned workshop shed was there. So, but I had to sign an agreement that I would spend my own money and I would not blame anyone if I had an accident or got injured or killed or anything. The usual indemnity bond, they call it. So I built this in a few months' time, 3-4 months it took. And then I said, okay, this is not going to be a flying model, you know. I said, this is a mock-up, full-scale mock-up, which I will show to some sponsor who will give the financial support to import a proper hang glider from UK or USA, where the sport had become popular already. So I said, okay, I tried, wrote a lot of letters to different people and nothing was working. And I asked some of my friends who were paratroopers and glider pilots and all that. I said, come on guys, take a look at my hang glider. Why don't you try it? Because you guys know all about aerodynamics, aviation. And they took one look at it and they said, sorry boy, we are not going to touch your hang glider. It doesn't look like anything that can fly. So I said, okay, then one day I said, okay, let me at least see if this glider can take some wind pressure. You know, so I took it to an open ground outside. There was nice wind blowing and I found that it was able to handle that pressure. Then I started running with it on a football field and I could feel it tugging up, you know, trying to lift me off the ground. I said, wow, this is not collapsing as I was expecting it to collapse, you know. I said, yeah, I have not used the standard materials. So I don't think it will hold up to this wind pressure for long. But as I ran, I realized that the structure was very tough and it was able to handle for about a month. I ran up and down just as a kind of prelude, you know, building up stamina to handle this thing. I had to run downhill without actually taking off. Finally, one day I said, okay, now the wind is good and everything. And I ran down and I got airborne. And the structure held together and I landed, made a very soft landing as I had read the 2 pages of flight instructions that came with the drawings, you know. So it was literally learning to fly by the book, not even a book, a leaflet. So that really got me very excited. I ran back up the hill and did this several times that day. And then I got more ambitious. I went higher up the hill from 10 feet. I went to 30 feet, then to 100 feet, and finally to 500 feet. And I took off from there and I finally said, okay, now I think it's time to impress some sponsor. So I immediately contacted General Harry Kapoor, who was the commandant of CME. And he came over to have a look. And when he saw it, he was horrified. He was saying, what the hell? This is, you're risking your life. Have you insured yourself? I said, no, sir. So he said, you stop flying immediately. Okay, you're not flying this anymore. But he rang up General Sharma, who was our engineering chief in Delhi, and told him, there's one crazy guy who's built a hang glider. I've seen him fly it. And can you help? He says, of course we will help. General Sharma happened to be a ace glider pilot and a paratrooper. So he knew all about this. And he realized how tough this experiment was and how dangerous. So it was good that they stopped me from flying. And they immediately told me to look for a place in the United Kingdom or in US where I could do a instructor's course in hang gliding and then start a club at the College of Military Engineering, So that's how this thing got going, And I luckily survived that initial phase and stopped at the right time, thanks to these generals who stopped me and helped me later. So that was it. It wasn't a daredevilry, really. I felt I was pretty confident that I could do this.
Yeah. So then, in 2006, Vivek, you are much retired now from the army, and you built your completely indigenous hovercraft in Pune. I mean, I was witness to that, all that construction and all, because I was lucky to do an article on this for Times of India. So tell me, that hovercraft, which I'll show a photo shortly, it impressed the military brass, the top brass, but there were no takers for it, in the sense nobody wanted to buy it, or you couldn't go into production. And to make matters worse, you had that accident where your right hand went into the fan, and it was very badly injured. So tell us a little about the frustration of not getting accepted and how you bounced back from that horrific accident.
Okay. So in 2006, I had kind of stopped flying a few years earlier, and I was looking for something more exciting to do, Okay. So I said, okay, I have got the engine of my microlight plane, which had stopped flying. And I had an aluminum hull, which is, very lightweight, flat boat. So I said, maybe I can build a hovercraft, So first I built what is called an air-propelled boat. So I just mounted this engine and propeller on the back of this aluminum hull and a couple of rudders behind it, so as to change direction and all. And I was able to zip around the Khadakwasla lake on that quite nicely. Then I decided, okay, let's put an inflatable rubber tube around it and make it into a hovercraft. By now, you see, this internet was there. So I studied some designs on the internet for, say, a 3 or 4 seater hovercraft. Now, I thought I'll be the first one to build a hovercraft, like I was first to build a hang glider. So I checked up on the internet and I found that, oh, I was not the first. The first one was Dr. Abdul Kalam, the president. He had built a hovercraft when he was a junior scientist in Bangalore. With the help of scientists, 8 scientists, they built a hovercraft and they gave demos to Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, who was so impressed that he immediately enrolled Dr. Kalam into his Indian Space Research Organization, which he had set up just then. So he was lucky. Dr. Abdul Kalam met the right person at that time, and he got all the support that he needed. But I was at a great disadvantage because I was a retired officer living on the outskirts of Pune with no resources, very little money. But I had this junk lying around, a discarded engine of my microlight and aluminum hull. And by now internet was also there. So I said, I seem to have the material required. And luckily a friend of mine who builds inflatable boats in Pune, name is Ajit Narayan, he volunteered to build that inflatable rubber tube for me free of cost. He says, this is a fantastic experiment you're doing and I will not charge you for it. And he sent his guys to take measurements and built a inflatable rubber tube around the hull. And I had to buy another engine to fit in front of this the boat, so that it could push the air down, like a hovercraft has to float on a cushion of air. So I got that engine locally and installed it. And unfortunately, on my first trial run on the lake, I stumbled and fell, and my hand went into the propeller. And the propeller was going at a full speed, 3000 RPM, and my right hand got chopped off in two places, one above the wrist and one below the wrist. You can even see the cut, it got chopped from here and from here. So, I mean, for a moment, I was totally shocked. I said, what the hell has happened? I mean, I never had an accident while flying for so many years. And here I am doing this stupid experiment, and I lost my right hand. Luckily, Ajit Narayan immediately took me to the NDA military hospital. And from there, they took me in an ambulance to command hospital in Pune, where luckily the doctors were on ready waiting for me, because from NDA the call had gone, okay, we are bringing an emergency. And they were waiting in the operation theater for me, because they said even a few minutes you would have lost your arm. So they performed the surgery for about 5 hours. They were all specialists from different fields performing the surgery, and they seemed to be familiar with this kind of accident, It looked like a grenade blast that had gone off grenade had gone off in my hand or something. So they asked me, were you playing with a grenade? I said, no. I was playing with a hovercraft. So they said, no, I think at your age, these kind of injuries don't heal. We may have to chop off your hand just below the elbow. So be prepared for it. So now that I said, no, that can't be done. Yeah, I mean, okay, maybe artificial hand I'll have, But then the doctors were getting ready to chop off my hand. After 15 days, my hand was, they said it'll become gangrenous in case we don't cut it now, because the gangrene spreads very fast. Within hours, it's gone to the whole body, So they said, okay, we'll give it one more day. And if it doesn't show any signs of improvement, we'll chop it off. So my mind seems to have heard this, And next day, when they came, my hand's color was a little lighter. They say, oh, there seems to be some blood circulation, and my hand survived that. And the doctors were so surprised that, they took photographs regularly to, document this case. They would ask me, what do you eat? What do you drink? Do you smoke? Do you drink? So I said, yeah, I do all that. So then after that, I said, okay, now I've got to get my movements back of the hand, So slowly I started riding a scooter, but I had to kind of wrap the throttle with the foam so that I could grip it properly, because I can't really grip things well, now. I still have some difficulty. I can't write easily. I have to hold a pen in a different way. So gradually my hand started functioning better and better. And within no time, I was doing carpentry and all kinds of things, And then I built lots of furniture for my house and for my friends. And of course, now with power tools, with left hand, you can do everything. So I got left-handed, The right hand would just support the left hand. And then the power situation here in, before that, let me talk about this hovercraft. Now I gave demonstrations to lots of my friends who were now generals and army commander and college commandant of CME. They're all my colleagues, And they were very impressed. They said, wow, this is fantastic what you've done and all, but they were quite horrified when they heard about my hand's accident, And surprisingly, none of them really backed me, I went to the Defense Research and Development Organization here in Pune. I said, come on, guys. They didn't have the time to even come and see the hovercraft. Can you believe it? So I said, okay, I give up. So I said, let me go on to something else now. If I can't impress the military, maybe I should do something else, go into a different line altogether. So I scrapped the hovercraft, sold it to a scrap dealer by weight. And then I got into making a windmill. Because the power situation here at the farm was so bad. For days together, there was no electricity. And so I said, okay, maybe I can build a windmill. And again, went to the internet, found a windmill design, which was available free on the internet. It was developed by a Scottish engineer called Hugh Piggott. So I bought the book from him, a complete book on how to design a windmill. So I chose a 10-foot diameter windmill as standard, and I built it. Luckily, I had the carpentry skills to carve out the blades, wooden blades out of pine wood. Again, pine wood available in Khadki market from scrap dealers, they sell this packing crates which come in made of pine, and it's quite cheap. So I built this and carved out the blades. They were pretty complicated to carve out those blades, But luckily, I had by then become quite an experienced carpenter. And then I had to buy magnets. Luckily, they were available in Pune, the neodymium magnets. And the rest of the metal work, a friend of mine helped me make. And soon I was assembling the thing, and I found on first try it was generating all the power it needed. And then the electricity from this windmill went into batteries. And from the batteries through an inverter, I'm getting the electricity for my house. Right now, we are on this renewable energy generated electricity.
Fascinating. I remember, Vivek, because 2009 is when you built that first windmill, and I was again very lucky to do an article in the local newspaper. And I made you climb up on the roof for that photograph that I just showed.
Yeah.
And you sportingly did climb up the roof. So it's fascinating.
Everybody called me fiddler on the roof.
No, true. And the magic is that you're off the power grid, You're off the power grid. So what does it mean in terms of savings?
Well, I have not completely gone off power grid. I keep it as a standby. I have to pay a minimum of, say, about 200 rupees per month just to retain that connection. So that in case my windmill fails, in case my solar panels fail, I am able to go back to the power grid. Sometimes I go back, especially during the monsoon time, sometimes, because the windmill gets damaged very easily in stormy conditions, and then repairs and all take a long time. So even solar panels don't generate enough electricity during the monsoon. So I have to retain that minimum connection with the power grid.
Perfect. So now I'll come to 2013 and to this wonderful 1 HP solar pump that you built and put together again in your farmhouse in Kudje. So tell us about that whole process, because it was very magical. You won a big Greenpeace award, an international award in a competition, and then you had installations in Nepal and some parts of Maharashtra. You couldn't upscale it, unfortunately, But tell us how a solar pump can actually fight farmer distress in a country like India.
You know, luckily I had the chance to visit Bihar. And Greenpeace invited me to come and meet farmers there and see what I could do to help them. So I took a small solar pump with me. It was imported from China, and it was tiny. You know, it could give a very tiny amount of water, but it was just a demonstration. The farmer said, "We'll need something big. This pump is okay for drinking water for one house, but we need a big pump with a flow of from a 2-inch pipe at least." So I said, okay, let me see what I can do. And I came back to Pune and went to the market, bought a pump with a 2-inch outlet, 1 horsepower pump and submersible pump I got. And I got solar panels specially made so that they could generate the right amount of voltage, which had to be converted from DC to AC to run this pump. Contacted some electronics engineers, and they helped me to develop this electronics to run the pump. And very soon my pump was running. Now Greenpeace went ahead and announced a worldwide competition for designing a renewable energy pump. They wanted all the innovation labs around the world, may it be from Harvard or MIT or Stanford, they all have innovation labs which are, working on this kind of problems. They said, design a portable solar pump costing less than 1 lakh rupees for the farmers of Bihar, UP, West Bengal, where most farmers have only 1 acre of land, because of this family divisions. They have just 1 acre of land which cannot sustain their families. It's too small to sustain a family. So these farmers are migrating to cities in millions, looking for jobs, for a livelihood. And now you can see that problem, what happened, how many millions of farmers had to go back to these states from big cities and towns during this COVID problem, So this problem is still there very much, and it can be solved by this portable solar pump, which I had designed. I won the prize for it, and I expected that, there'll be a big market for this. So I went to all the state government, the departments where, they would be able to take it on. But I could not get anyone convinced about this. So finally, I got a call from Nepal, and luckily, one of the jury members of that Greenpeace competition, who had kind of studied my pump, felt that in Nepal at least we can try it out. So I was invited there. I took 3 pumps, installed them on the campus of this institution called ICMOD, International something for Mountain Development, International Center for Mountain Development. So they said, install these 3 pumps in our campus, so we'll study them. So I installed 3 pumps, and then they gave me an order for installing 40 pumps, which we installed in the Terai region of Nepal. Now Terai is bordering Bihar, exactly same farming conditions, It's like Bihar. In fact, a lot of Biharis have gone and settled there. They're called Madesis. And they also have the small plots of land, and they grow vegetables or something, and they are also migrating to India to look for jobs. So there, these 40 pumps have changed the life of these guys, and especially women farmers, who are left to fend for the family while the man is away in India looking for a job. Now the women are able to do the farming, and around the year they can do farming because all these areas around Terai, Bihar, UP, West Bengal, the water level is just 15 feet below the ground all year round. And you just have to dig a shallow bore well and put in this submersible pump. You can get water as much as you want. And it does not deplete. It does not go down because it's already being replenished by so many rivers flowing down from the Himalayas. So now I found out from statistics that there are 33 million farmers in these 5 states along the Gangetic Plains who will benefit with a solar pump like this. Small solar pump, not big ones. Now, I have not been able to convince any of these bureaucrats and all. I told them, look guys, this is the solution that, that can reverse the migration from the cities back to rural areas, because then the guy can stay with his family. He can do farming all year round and not double but triple his income, because he can grow 3 crops a year. Because monsoon he doesn't need to run the pump, but during the winters when there is no rain, he can run this pump and grow another crop, and in summer he can grow a 3rd crop. He can grow vegetables, high value crops. He can choose whatever he wants, and he is not dependent on the government for electricity supply or water. So he becomes independent. He can do whatever kind of farming he wants, enough food for the family. So there's food security, better health. In fact, the cascading effect of this solar pump would mean, rural upliftment. It would bring the rural economy back on its feet. Now they don't need any more government support and doles, like they keep on giving loan waivers, they subsidize everything, fertilizers, water, electricity. But still the problem hasn't gone away. I said, here is one solution that can solve a large amount of farmer distress.
Okay. To your latest project now, 2017, you now have moved from, you started with the, hovercrafts, and now you have moved to the electric bicycle. So you got some, you imported some parts, you assembled your own electric bicycle, and now with a friend you are actually promoting and selling electric bicycles. So tell us why you think it is the way forward.
Pune used to be a city of bicycles. Just about 30-40 years ago, there were thousands of cycles on the roads. Every factory worker used to go to his factory on a bicycle. I remember from here, my village, guys used to go to ammunition factory in Khadki on bicycles, hundreds of them. And during the rush hour, there used to be such a rush of bicycles that all the cars had to stand aside and let this crowd of bicycles go past first. And the cars had to go to one side of the road and wait till these bicycles went through. I thought, okay, why not electric bicycles where you don't have to exert? You can exert if you want, but otherwise you don't have to exert, and you just twist the throttle, and you can go at a speed of 25-30 kilometers per hour, and you can't go faster than that anyway on our roads. So why not electric bicycles now? We should have thousands of electric bicycles. China has done it. In China, there are thousands and thousands of electric bicycles. Everybody travels on electric bicycles there. And they've been doing this for last 10 years at least. And today, 90% of all electric bicycles in the world are in China. They are way ahead of everybody else in electric bicycles. Arjun has been to several Chinese ports and towns, small ones. He says there they have banned petrol two-wheelers and they only allow electric bicycles and electric scooters. So, I mean, they've been doing this for the last 10 years. And I think that's the way ahead for everybody. You will have no pollution due to the fumes, petrol fumes. You will have no noise. These are silent vehicles. They make no sound at all. And we will save about, I don't know, 10,000 crores of foreign exchange. We won't have to buy that much of, import that much of petrol and diesel. That
Very
money
interesting.
can
And
go
you,
into other places.
I'll show a photograph where you are charging your batteries with solar power, your cycle batteries. There. So that's your cycle, and this is your solar panel at home, and you're using solar energy to charge your batteries.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. You just take a couple of solar panels, mount them on a small stand. So it provides shelter for the bicycle as well as it charges the battery of the bicycle. Now, I think this kind of a thing could be done at places of work where the factory, the people who come on electric bicycles, they can keep charging their bicycle while they are working, and at the end of the day their battery is again fully charged to go back home easily. Sometimes the battery may not be having so much of capacity to go back home, and you may have to pedal. But generally I've seen that these days most of these electric bicycles have a range of about 50 kilometers on one charge. So you don't have to pedal for 50 kilometers. I've been using that bicycle for the last 3 years now. And I've great fun in making all youngsters feel very, very kind of bad when they see an old man cycling past them effortlessly uphill. I only pretend to pedal. Actually, I'm just pedaling, and these guys look at me and they say, "Hey, how is this old man going so fast?" And they are, in their gear and they are pedaling and sweating, and I just go breeze past them. So then they kind of catch up with me and ask me, "Is this an electric bike?" I said, "Yes, it is." You want to buy it? You go to my shop.
Fantastic, fantastic. So super. So Vivek, thank you for giving this time and chatting with us on Penny for the Soul. It's been so nice to connect again with you. So after this COVID issue is over, I'm making a beeline to your Kudje farmhouse to have a nice cold beer with you first, and then talk about your next project.
Yes. That's going to be even more interesting.
I can imagine. Bye.